lot of interpretations and, frankly, some downright fabrications about what Kimmel specifically said in terms of his characterization of the shooter, the assassin. But let us assume, for the purpose of argument, the absolute purity of his critics. The question is, are they upset that this comedian invoked a horrific act of violence to make jokes? Because I don't recall any of these voices expressing any dismay after former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband was brutally attacked by a home intruder with a hammer, resulting in Paul Pelosi's lifelong debilitating injuries. The president's son joked about it, posting a Paul Pelosi Halloween costume, and others mined this vicious attack for fun.
We'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know?
So are they upset because they say Kimmel was misrepresenting, lying about the shooter's political views? Now, Kimmel's defenders say he was not saying that this was a MAGA person, but even if he had been saying it, here's the question. Are lies consistently problematic for the Trump administration and its allies? Do lies offend President Trump?
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Or is what's going on with Kimmel's show right now all because, as President Trump said on Air Force One yesterday, all these TV networks do is, quote, hit Trump. Therefore, they should have their licenses taken away. We should note it is an American right to mock any president. In fact, during the Biden years, then FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr said political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. In January, Carr, who is now the chairman of the FCC, said, quote, free speech is the bedrock of democracy. Hear, hear to both of those sentiments. But then this week, Carr went on that right-wing podcast and said it was time for local TV stations to, quote, step up, and declared that this, quote, garbage, meaning the Kimmel show, is not something they want on their airwaves. Moments ago, Trump called Brendan Carr a, quote, courageous person. Now, enter Nexstar. Nexstar is the largest owner of local TV stations in the entire United States. Nexstar is also trying to purchase its largest rival, Tegna, for $6.2 billion. If the FCC were to approve the sale, well, then Nexstar would be violating an FCC rule about owning too many, more than 39% of local TV households. So Nexstar not only needs Carr's approval for this acquisition, they need Carr to change the FCC rule. So it's perhaps not surprising that literally within hours of Brendan Carr announcing all this, telling local TV stations to jump, Nexstar said, how high? Now it goes to Disney's Bob Iger. Disney owns ABC, and Disney pulled Kimmel from the airwaves for now. Now, we should also note that Iger, as he decides what to do with Jimmy Kimmel and his show, Iger also needs the Trump administration to approve ways for Iger to make even more money for Iger and for his stockholders. Iger's trying to close in on a mega deal between Disney and Fubo. Critics say that that merger would create a mega sports streaming monopoly. Right now, this merger is under a Justice Department antitrust review, and Iger needs Trump to approve it. All of this, at the end of it, is about money. It's about rich men and women who need the Trump administration's approval to make even more money, and it's about a president and his minions openly using the powers of the presidency to silence speech and speakers that President Trump does not like. Critics of his, coming for the comedians, now coming for the journalists. We should note this is the exact opposite of what President Trump claims to have stood for when he was running for office and when he took office. It's the exact opposite of what he and his administration promised that they would do when it came to free speech.
I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents.
And under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square.
They're not doing that. In fact, they're doing the opposite.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Donald Trump's administration has been attacking free expression since he got back into office, threatening critics with prosecution, targeting colleges and law firms, deporting protesters or student op-ed writers, or putting them into detention, who are here on legal visas for the views they expressed, and then arresting people who protest the deportations. None of it's been particularly popular. The White House's latest overreach appears to have ignited an angry national backlash, openly using the threat of government power to pressure one of the country's biggest, most storied corporations, Disney, to indefinitely suspend ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel for offending MAGA sensibilities. It's Trump's most high-visibility authoritarian attack on free speech, and yet that's really saying something. Hundreds of demonstrators, many of them writers and actors, gathered outside Kimmel's Hollywood studio today, as well as Disney's Burbank offices and ABC's Manhattan headquarters, to protest his suspension. Meanwhile, Google searches for cancel Disney Plus spiked across the country as droves of social media users posted they were ending their subscriptions to the media giant's app. And in a rare public comment, Michael Eisner, the former longtime CEO of Disney, took to social media to blast the company and its capitulation to the government. Quote, "Where has all the leadership gone?" The suspending indefinitely of Jimmy Kimmel immediately after the chairman of the FCC's aggressive yet hollow threatening of the Disney company is yet another example of out-of-control intimidation. Thanks to resignations under Donald Trump, there are now only 3 commissioners at the FCC. There's Brendan Carr, Trump's chairman. There's Trump's latest appointee, a former Republican Senate staffer. And there is one Democrat on the FCC. Her name is Ana Gomez. She worked in a variety of roles at the FCC before she was appointed as a commissioner by Joe Biden in 2023. She joins me now. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Before I get into this, just what's it like to work there right now?
It's really alarming. I am very alarmed by this administration's campaign of censorship and control. It is damaging to our democracy. It is censoring what the broadcasters can or cannot say about this administration or whatever ideology this administration wants to espouse. And that's not good for our democracy.
Do you think that Brendan Carr's statements were defensible or appropriate uses of his power as commissioner?
I think it's very important to say that the FCC does not have the authority, the constitutional right, or the ability to take action against broadcasters because the FCC does not like their editorial decisions or a comedian's jokes, whether you like them or not. That is not what the FCC can do. In fact, the First Amendment prohibits us from censoring broadcasters, and the Communications Act specifically prohibits the FCC from censoring broadcasters.
I noticed, though, you didn't answer the question. Do you think that Commissioner Carr's statements were appropriate?
I don't think that we should be threatening broadcasters. It is a chilling of speech that is prohibited by our First Amendment. And the FCC is a powerful regulator of our broadcasters. As you noted, the broadcasters have transactions before the FCC. They need to get the FCC's authorization if they want to merge with another broadcaster or if they have a license renewal. Or right now, the FCC is considering lifting ownership caps to let them consolidate even more. They have business before the FCC. They want to make the FCC happy. So they are going to censor in advance, and that is not appropriate.
There's sometimes questions when we're seeing things that this administration is doing between things that are norm breaking or inappropriate or stretching the bounds, and then there are things that seem flatly illegal or unconstitutional. Do you think the essentially whether explicit or implicit trading of policing speech in favor of some sort of regulatory favors, do you think that is legal? Do you think that's something that is legal or constitutional to do?
No, I think it's unlawful. It's both a violation of the Constitution and the Communications Act. And it's not in our authority under the Communications Act. We have the authority to regulate broadcasters in the public interest. This administration is taking the public interest and making it about anything it doesn't like. Well, that is inappropriate. It is very difficult to take action against broadcasters for the content that they broadcast on purpose, because we need to be careful about not crossing that line of violating the First Amendment.
I've covered multiple, FCCs through the years, and FCCs in Republican administrations, including Michael Paladin during the Bush administration and Ajit Pai in the first Trump administration. And my sense has always been this is an independent agency, but its priorities and its policy changes when there's a new administration, because that new administration appoints the commissioner. But even if that's the case, there is still some sense of independence, that they aren't simply an arm of the White House and of the president. Do you agree with that? And do you think something has changed now?
Yes, the FCC was created as an independent agency, as you mentioned in your opener. Congress created the Federal Radio Commission, which was the precursor to the FCC, and it thought about whether it should place it in the Department of Commerce. But it decided that it was too dangerous to have such an important broadcast medium being regulated by one person subject to the whims of one political party. And therefore, it created...
Good thinking.
What you're seeing here is the plan laid bare, the mask ripped off. Trump made a big mistake in getting himself so directly involved by saying, oh, Jimmy's next, and then he was next, and allowing his FCC head to go on and effectively say this wasn't a private decision between a company and their affiliates and the Jimmy Kimmel show, and Jimmy Kimmel as an individual, right? This was, we're going to put pressure on these people so that they feel forced to, pull the trigger and have Jimmy Kimmel removed. That we're going to, even if some of them maybe did want to do it, but were reluctant to do it for business and for First Amendment reasons, we're going to give them the push over the ledge. But then also, as noted there, this is clearly connected to Donald making deals with CEOs. Carrot deals and stick deals. Meaning that Trump's made a lot of friendly deals with capitalists. He one of the reasons he was able to get a lot more support from big business this time was that Joe Biden actually challenged to some degree big business. Not nearly as much as I would, but Lena Khan, when he put her in charge of the Federal Trade Commission, which among other things makes sure that competition exists and that monopolies don't form, and billionaire corporations, trillion-dollar corporations can't abuse the consumer and the market, right? And other businesses, right? Their competitors, the economy. Those capitalists hated that. Them out back in power. Now the trough is open. The swamp is going to be swampier than ever. But also, if you don't play ball, I can still use the levers of the Trade Commission to block your merger. You want to do a merger between companies? Whether or not it's a good merger, I'm going to block it if you don't fire Jimmy Kimmel, if you don't remove Colbert, if you don't cancel this expose on me or what have you. And whether these things are actually true or not, this is the implication being made. And now people see it. It's not implication anymore for many people. The fig leaf of deniability that was with Colbert doesn't exist with Kimmel.